back. He, who must not be named, the man, the myth, the only guy in Ocala to eat his own weight in fried pickles. Twice. Now, you asked for it. Sorta. Live and in person, it's Tom Schmitz.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks with Tom Schmitz. Let's go out to the phone lines and talk to a person who I've worked closely with doing a podcast. She is the owner and operator of the Mom Street Journal. She is the CFO for Seventh Chakra Films. She is a patriot for health freedom, and she's a mother here in Marion County. Lori Gregory is on the lines with us. Lori, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tom. How are you this fine day?
I just wish people knew how to do math and could do it quicker than a kindergartner with a big pencil and a big eraser.
Well, you can dream.
We all have dreams.
Unfortunately, I think it's a little bit more complicated than math, unfortunately.
Let me ask you this question, Lori, because you took up the fight. By the way, this is something that a lot of people know about you. You at one time, 7, 8, 9 years ago, would have probably been out campaigning for the Democrats in wherever you were living. Then you moved to California, and you changed over one issue, and that issue was they were trying to tell you what you could and couldn't do for the health of your child, forcing you to do it. So you became a patriot for health freedom, and you still, though, understand there's laws and regulations. Why is it, do you think, that we as a country think it's more important to show ID to buy cigarettes and beer than we do to cast a ballot for the leader of the free world?
Tom, you're cutting out just a little bit. Can you repeat that last question, the last part of your question?
I said, why do you think it's more important that we as a society think it's more important to show ID to buy beer and cigarettes than we do for showing ID to elect the leader of the free world? We don't. Some states we don't have to do that for voting, but you do for cigarettes and beer.
Well, that's a really great question, and it's probably more complicated than either of us even know. But I'll tell you what I do know. What I do know is that there's a lot of damage that's been done to our political system over the past 20, 25, maybe longer years. And it's been done in the name of public goodness, whether it's public health or policy that would appear to be in the best interest of the people. What we have found is that there has been an infiltration of doctrine that seeks to hijack, manipulate, and limit the power of the people in the name of goodness. And so the idea that you can buy cigarettes and beer and even marijuana, other drugs with, more requirement in your identification than it takes to vote and to literally participate in democracy, which is one of the most precious things we have on the planet, goes back to the idea that it's okay, you don't need to worry about things like elections being stolen. You don't need to worry about things like vaccines. You don't need to worry about things like gun freedom. We're going to do everything to take care of you and make sure that you're safe. And the tragedy of that logic is that you're actually playing into a trend that sadly we've seen in our nation, which is that people want to feel safe more than they want freedom. And that's a very dangerous idea because it comes from a really disenfranchised public that is longing for something that will give them a feeling of safety rather than recognizing that the Founding Fathers and the Constitution and the democracy on which we stand is designed to give us that safety if we are willing to participate in it. So that's kind of a short answer to your question, but I think obviously it has far more reaching implications than what I've just stated.
You make a very good point, though. People are saying, in the last 4 years, with the way President Trump and his vileness has divided the country, and that they're using that as an excuse to say what's going on, when in actuality, if I wanted to place blame on when this started, and I could do that because it's my radio show, I can do what I want to do on this show. If I was going to place blame, I would place it squarely on the Republicans, but I'll tell you when. And they did it under the guise, at the time they did it, it made perfect sense, but it needed to be sunset where it fell off after a certain time, and it hasn't. And it's when our little small freedoms, like having to get a search warrant to tap phone lines and stuff like that, with the Patriot Act, having to show ID to get to do bank accounts because we were making sure nobody was laundering money through bank accounts. The Patriot Act was sold as an act of patriots, and it was going to help us catch terrorists. And it's been, like you said, I don't believe it originally was intended the way it's being used now, but the system is now being manipulated where they're using the same things that were supposed to make us feel safe to alleviate and take our freedoms from us. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Well, the color wars aren't really serving us because they're designed to divide.
And you're talking about red versus blue. You're talking about red versus blue, correct?
Yeah, red team, blue team. These are color wars, and it's really a very juvenile system that is designed to divide us. What you really have to do if you want to understand who is offering what for our nation is you have to do diligence. You have to do your due diligence. You have to dig a little bit deeper, and you have to go past the convenience of red team, blue team. A lot of us don't really want to be bothered with democracy. We just want to go into the voting booth and check a box and say, okay, I'm just going to check all the blue team, or I'm just going to check all the red team. And it's really just it's kind of a mental laziness that we suffer from, right? We just want to be able to make it simple and quick and get on with our day. And the problem with that is that we've been spoiled and we've been coddled into the belief that this color war system can give us a quick way to vote our conscience. And the reality is that the convenience of that system is really precisely what's being exploited and has been exploited for years. Because infiltration from socialist and fascist agendas can hijack a color and then convince you that, okay, well, I can, I'm voting for an ideal. I'm voting for, a particular doctrine if I vote red or if I vote blue. And that's just not the way it works anymore. And so, we've seen in various state governments, and certainly this is the case in California, where you have a very fascist socialist agenda masking as the blue team. And Californians bought into it. They allowed themselves the luxury of this mental laziness to be able to for just convenience. I just don't want to be bothered. I just want to get on with my life. And, it's very expensive to live in California. And unless you're from an elite, wealthy, you have the heritage and the luxury of not having to worry about mortgages and working. Most families in California are two career families just to live in California. And so the time that it takes to really understand and invest in the legalese and the narratives and what's really behind things like Kamala Harris's Senate Bill 593, which is called Do No Harm Bill. And, these kinds of languagings around things that sound like they're really good ideas, But then when you look into the actual policy and the actual legislation behind these ideas, they're very fascist. And they actually are putting a noose around our rights as Americans and taking away the opportunity for us to exercise our freedoms, and really are an assault on the Constitution. So the convenience of color wars really is something that doesn't work anymore. And you have to remember, when Donald Trump first started his career as a politician, the Republican Party was not his friend.
No.
The red team were not interested in him as a candidate.
They thought he was a joke.
And that's correct. And that's because he was not a politician. He came in as a very successful businessman who really didn't need the job. He wasn't interested in it as a career. The blue team currently have a candidate that is a career politician who literally depends on the system as a way to line his pockets. And that's a very different paradigm.
Net worth of Joe Biden 47 years ago, including the house him and his wife owned, about $350,000. That's not the net worth of Joe Biden 47 years later through Congress. Joe Biden now owns 4 or 5 homes worth millions and millions of dollars. What's the common denominator? He was in politics the whole time.
Exactly. And, the salary of a senator and a vice president does not equate. I mean, there aren't enough book deals and speaking engagements in his diary to support the level of income and the level of wealth that he and his family have accrued. And so I look at that, but I also look at the policy that he's been involved in. And I look at, if you have 47 years at a job, you ought to have something to show for it that's reflective of what your claims are in your contribution. And it's not just Joe Biden. I'm not picking on Joe Biden. I'm certainly not trying to start a color war here. I'm saying that we have to look past the colors. We have to look at what does a candidate stand for, and are they supporting the Constitution, or are they pretending to support the Constitution and really bringing in an agenda that is designed to move our democracy toward a fascist state? Having lived under...
Well, we got to take a break here to pay some bills. We're talking to Lori Gregory. She is the author of the Mom Street Journal. She also is the CFO of Seven Chakra Films, which is a documentary film company that fights for health freedom all across the nation and the world, dare I say. We're going to take this time out. We'll be right back with Lori Gregory after this on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source. Finally, shipping made easy. Just Ship is your answer to your shipping aggravation. They come pick up your package and ship it for you. Birthday gifts, eBay sales, or an online return. Just Ship can handle all of them for you. Act now and you can save 20% on an annual subscription, which will take you through the 2020 holiday months. Go to www.justship.net now and take the aggravation out of shipping.
There's a staycation right here in town. It's Super 8 Motel Ocala, right down the road on 40, just west of I-75. And they're pet friendly. Have truck parking, free breakfast,
Yum, yum.
a swimming pool, a kiddie pool, and veterans get 10% off. It's a staycation at Super 8 Ocala. Call today, Super 8 Ocala at 352-629-8794. Again, 352-629-8794.
Oh, hey, Grandpa. Oh, hey, Grandpa. Hey, Grandpa.
Yes, buddy?
Can you take me fishing this weekend?
I'd love to.
Have you noticed a change in your hearing over the years? Missing the little things in life? Visit Beneficial Hearing in Ocala today. Their expert team of audiologists will make sure you never miss a moment. Call Beneficial Hearing today at 352-629-4418 or visit them online, beneficialhearing.com.
started in 1975. It's Yendel's Building Materials. Whether you're making repairs, adding a room, or building a house, Yendel's constantly delivers excellent service and top quality materials and many of the tools and hardware you need to get the job done. At Yendel's, they take pride in supplying their customers with new and innovative products. Yendel's experience in truss design, manufacturing, and component materials is second to none. 834 North Magnolia Avenue in Ocala, 732-3000. Stop by to experience the difference.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440. In addition to our pasture mowing and tractor services, including zero-turn mowers for your fence line finish, we also offer